Greetings, I'm your host, Dr. Wolfula, and when I'm not causing parakeets to explode, I'm here at the Wolfula reviewing movies. You know, John Carpenter may not have been up to much in more, recent years, but he sure did make some fucking cool movies during his heyday.
I'd rather not spend the rest of this winter tied to this fucking couch!
One of those movies was a little flick released in 1981 called Escape from New York. In the film, Air Force One is hijacked by a terrorist with the president on board. The president happens to be played by Donald Pleasance, so I guess that makes him the Pleasident. Get it? The Prez retreats into his escape pod as the plane crashes into New York City. The president landing in New York City wouldn't be so bad normally, but unfortunately, New York happened to be transformed into a super prison where all of America's criminals go. It's sort of like America's Australia. No offense to any Australians. Please stay subscribed. Escape from New York happens to take place in the distant future of 1997? Okay, if you ever write sci-fi, always make sure the year is distant enough so that you'll be long dead by the time that year comes up. Or even better, just don't say what year it is. Anyway, the president is captured by the inmates of New York. Luckily, the newest inmate of New York is an ex-Special Forces soldier who tried to rob the Federal Reserve and is the perfect candidate for a presidential rescue. The former soldier in question is one of the greatest action movie characters of all time, Snake Plissken. Call him Snake or, Plissken. I'm not really sure which.
Call me Snake.
I'm not really going to talk much more about the original movie itself. Instead, I'm just going to focus on Snake here. Snake is the ultimate anti-hero. He doesn't care about anything or anyone else besides himself.
We're still at war, Plissken. We need him alive.
I don't give a fuck about your war. Or your president.
Snake's goal in Escape from New York is rescuing the president only because it'll mean freedom and continued living. What the rescue means for the world doesn't matter to Snake at all. Snake doesn't bother helping anybody in danger along the way, only inmates that could be of use to him. Despite this, Snake isn't really a bad guy. He doesn't revel in the deaths of his enemies, and he doesn't kill anyone he doesn't need to kill. The guy's as neutral as you can possibly be without being Swedish. Snake also manages to have an impeccable fashion sense. Beard? Check. Hockey hair? Check. Leather jacket? Check. Gruff Batman voice?
What did you do to me, asshole?
Double check. Man, eye patches are hard to pull off. They tend to make you look like a pirate, but in Snake's case, it raises his intimidation levels tenfold. I find it very hard to believe that Snake actually lost his eye, though. Snake probably pulled his own eye out just to prove a point. Maybe Snake felt that he needed to make things sort of fair for anyone unfortunate enough to get into a fight with him. Snake also happens to have a cobra tattoo that starts at the midsection and probably ends at his dick. Ouch. Yeah, Snake's a pretty cool character, and Escape from New York was a pretty cool movie, but not much of a franchise was spawned. While Rambo 9, More First Bloods was being made, Snake Plissken was left out in the cold. 15 years would pass before a sequel to Escape from New York would finally get released. So what's the sequel called? Oh, Escape from L.A. That's, cool, I guess. So does Snake really have to escape from a city in every movie he's in? He can't do something else? Whatever. It's more Snake. That's all that matters, right? Let's get into this review of 1996's Escape from L.A. Finally. In the year 2000, Los Angeles is hit hard by an earthquake that separates the city from the rest of California. This kind of thing happens all the time in LA, but this time around, it's permanent. You see, Cliff Robertson is elected president, and he happens to be best friends with Jesus.
Armageddon will descend upon the city of Los Angeles, the city of sin, the city of Gomorrah, the city of Sodom, and waters will arise and separate this sinful, sinful city.
So LA is officially kicked out of the USA for good since it's the sin capital of the world. Well, next to Branson, Missouri, I suppose. New laws regarding morality are passed that make pretty much everything illegal, and anyone seen as un-American is deported to the island of Los Angeles.
Once an American loses his or her citizenship, they are deported to this island of the damned, and they never come back.
Alright, so that means LA is basically a prison now. Isn't Manhattan already the mega prison? How many mega prisons are necessary? Apparently Manhattan is demolished and the prisoners are relocated to LA, but that seems really inconvenient. Whatever. So what exactly is considered immoral in this new America?
Prostitutes, atheists, runaways. We're throwing out the trash.
It seems kind of random to group atheism with prostitution. Also, why mention atheists, runaways, and prostitutes as the worst Americans instead of, oh, I don't know, drug dealers, murderers, pimps, you know, those kinds of folks? Guns, alcohol, tobacco, premarital sex, curse words, and even red meat are now illegal. Who would actually pass these laws? America loves its guns. They're here to stay. The tobacco industry would also never lie down and die like its consumers. Everybody in America would end up getting deported to LA. It should totally go without saying that Snake Plissken is considered un-American, so in 2013, the guy is caught again and is headed for deportation to LA. Fortunately, the president has a job for Snake to carry out once he's in LA.
Sounds familiar.
It turns out that the president's daughter went rogue and joined a revolutionary group based in LA, so she escapes to LA instead of from it. The president's daughter is irrelevant, though. Aren't they always? The president really just wants a certain MacGuffin that his daughter snatched from him.
Unless you open your borders, allow all the wrongfully accused to return to their country, I will use this on you and on the United States.
Snake is actually told to specifically kill the president's daughter.
Utopia is lost to me. My daughter's gone.
Man, if only George W. Bush gave somebody that order. To guarantee Snake's speedy return with the MacGuffin, the president has this former soldier poisoned. When will people learn that all you need to do to get Snake to do whatever you want is to just ask nicely? You don't always have to poison a guy. Once inside LA, Snake comes under heavy opposition by Cuervo Jones, the leader of the revolutionary group that runs LA.
But this is LA, Vato. And you're about to find out that this fucking city can kill anybody!
Cuervo Jones is pretty much just Che Guevara if he was an autumn instead of a summer. Yeah, so, Escape from LA has the same story as the first film. Not just conceptually the same story, mind you. Escape from LA's plot structure is nearly identical to the first film's. Like, for example, in both movies, Snake runs into an old acquaintance that he enlists to help him complete his mission. Also in both movies, the villain captures Snake and forces him to complete some dangerous task. In the first film, Snake has to fight a giant with a killer goatee. Meanwhile, in the second movie, Snake has to shoot some hoops. Oh dear God. It gets weirder. You know that scene in the original where Snake is lost, so he sits on a folding chair and waits for something to happen? Yeah, well, he does that again in Escape from LA. Why did this very specific thing need to be revisited? It's like John Carpenter, Deborah Hill, and Kurt Russell took the script of Escape from New York, changed some names, and said, "We're done writing the sequel, gang!" I made a huge mistake of watching the original movie again before watching the sequel, and it felt like I was watching the first movie all over again. There's not enough new in Escape from LA, and a lot of what is new is pretty damn silly. Like, why did they decide to have Snake's survival ultimately hinge on his mad basketball playing skills? If they ever make another sequel, they need to have Snake play tennis with live hand grenades. That's what I want to see. Then you've got the final scene, which involves Snake laying waste to his enemies while hang gliding. It's like watching an episode of G.I. Joe. The worst silliness offender above all else is the surfing scene. Midway through the film, Snake surfs a mega gnarly wave alongside Peter Fonda, who plays a hippie no less. This scene actually ends with Snake high-fiving Peter Fonda and leaping off the wave and onto a speeding car. They really should have added a shark to this scene and make it absolutely perfect. Part of me suspects that Escape from LA was supposed to be a commercial for a sporting goods store the whole time. There are some cool action scenes that are true to Snake's character, like the motorcycle chase, but they get overshadowed by the extreme levels of silliness in the rest of the movie.
Nobody draws until this hits the ground.
The cast of Escape from LA is, eclectic. The movie isn't star-studded exactly, it's B-movie star-studded. Arguably, the most famous supporting actor in the film is Steve Buscemi. Mr. Buscemi has a strange role in this film. He plays both the hero's sidekick and the villain's sidekick at different points in the movie. Steve Buscemi's character is named, and I quote, "Map to the Stars Eddie, a travel agent in the LA hellscape."
Welcome to your very own Map to the Stars. It's me. Sure, we all know that
Map to the Stars Eddie is a lot like Ernest Borgnine's character in the first, in that they both have cars, but also in a more important way that I won't get into yet. Other than that, Steve Buscemi is just a comedy relief that doesn't go anywhere in the end. Literally.
So good to see you. Where is Plissken?
B-movie king Bruce Campbell has a brief but memorably weird role in Escape from L.A. You see, Escape from L.A. tries to dip into satire every now and then, to varying results. Snake is captured by a clan of plastic surgery-addicted freaks that need new body parts to continue to live. One of them looks like Cher, and another one looks like Joan Rivers. You can see where they're going with this. The leader of these weirdos is the Surgeon General of L.A., Bruce Campbell.
My God, they're real.
He looks a lot more like Bruce Jenner than Bruce Campbell in this movie. Disappointingly, Bruce Campbell doesn't play a guy that fights with or against Kurt Russell like I hoped. Mr. Campbell just gets a cameo. Now that's a serious missed opportunity. Here's some fun trivia. Bruce Campbell and Kurt Russell have both played Elvis at least once in a movie. Kurt Russell's Elvis movie also happened to be directed by John Carpenter, which is really fucking weird. The strangest casting in this movie has to be blaxploitation actress Pam Grier as a character named Hershey La Pamla Blah. Why is this Hershey character strange, you ask? Well, Hershey used to be an ally of Snake's that went by a much different name, Carjacker Malone. Snake explains the situation best.
Oh, more things change, more they stay the same, huh, Carjack? Glad to see you're still packing a little gun between your legs.
Yep, Hershey is a transgendered woman. That's not the strange thing, though. I'm not a redneck. What's strange is that they altered Pam Grier's voice or something, so it sounds a lot deeper.
Oh yeah, 1,000,000 greenbacks. I got 10 million of them in the next room.
It's very silly. She sounds like somebody who's in the witness protection program and is making a TV appearance.
I'll tell you that when we get there.
Oh, Plissken, man, you are such a loser, man, making up shit along the way.
The voice really bothered me, and it didn't help that it seemed like Hershey's only purpose was to explain where Snake gets a hang glider. The only truly great performance in the film should be obvious. Kurt Russell is Snake Plissken.
Evidently, I don't need to know, so fuck you, I'm going to Hollywood.
Despite all the dumb shit they have Snake do in this movie, Snake somehow manages to look cool doing it. Hell, Kurt Russell could make Urkel look cool if he played him. That's just how cool he is. Being cool isn't really acting, though. You won't get chills from Kurt Russell's performance, but you'll probably wish he was your dad.
Who are you?
I'm your president.
I understand you got some domestic problems.
John Carpenter and Shirley Walker's score is very much a cheesy 80s action movie soundtrack, which isn't bad, but the movie could have used a bit of an update in music. You can't take John Carpenter away from his synthesizer, but a lot of the tracks sound like something you'd hear in Nash Bridges or something. Am I the only guy who gets a weird Law & Order vibe from the Escape series' theme? Or am I just crazy like that dead psychiatrist said? Okay, I'm gonna be talking about the endings of Escape from LA and Escape from New York. If you don't want those spoilers, then just skip to this time code. The MacGuffin is revealed to be a remote control that commands the Sword of Damocles, a powerful weapon comprised of a legion of orbiting satellites that can each fire an electromagnetic pulse, capable of wiping out all the electronic devices on Earth.
Hell, you could key in all the satellites and shut down the whole planet. Send it right back to the Dark Ages.
Yeah, this super weapon is controlled by something that can fit in your pocket. It's not some huge stationary machine surrounded by a cadre of guards. No, apparently you can just leave this device capable of creating a second Stone Age lying around on a table. Want to know the kicker, though? The code to end all technology on Earth is 666.
Remember, Cuervo, you gotta punch in the world code first. 666.
Yeah, I'm not kidding, but the movie might be. The president is supposed to be a devout Christian, so, why is this code for his weapon a number that goth kids write over and over in their composition books during class? In the end, Snake retrieves the remote control from Che, and it seemingly is returned to President Uncle Ben, who plans to use it right away on Cuba in a Grand Moff Tarkin sort of way.
7, 9. I now render this final solution.
Oh, and Snake finds out that he was never poisoned at all, and that he was just being messed with.
Toxin 7 is a fast, hard-hitting case for Snake.
Snake doesn't like being messed with. The device that the Prez possesses turns out to actually be mapped to the Star's Eddie's Tor machine thingy, and Snake has the real device.
Welcome to your very own map to the stars. Sure, we all know the big one wiped...
It's the same thing as the end of Escape from New York, where Snake switches Donald Pleasance's MacGuffin tape with some swing music that Ernest Borgnine had. Nobody thinks this is very funny a second time around, and the Prez orders his forces to kill this motherfucking Snake in his motherfucking way. This reminds me of the opening of Jason Goes to Hell. Snake isn't really killed, though, because he was a hologram the whole time.
He's not even here, he's a hologram!
Catches on quick, doesn't she?
It doesn't really make any sense. Where did Snake get a hologram machine, and where is this hologram projection coming from? Are we playing by Scooby-Doo villain rules here? Also, as far as Snake knew, he was dying from poison and needed the antidote, so why would he show up as a hologram instead when he was just about to die, apparently? How did Snake plan any of this so quickly? I know that this hologram thing is supposed to be Snake ironically getting back at the henchman for messing with him earlier in the movie with holograms, but it's implemented in such an awkward, dumb way. Snake goes ahead and just shuts down the world. The satellite's rendered with Beast Wars level CGI and a really cheesy music, I might add. This movie was apparently made for $50 million in 1996. I want you to watch Toy Story and tell me that this CGI looks acceptable for the time and budget. Snake's action is put into a positive light. By shutting down the world, the president's daughter is saved from execution.
He did it. He shut down the Earth.
The president's daughter was the last person I wanted to see live in this movie. Let's not ignore the countless people Snake has killed by shutting down all power. Sorry, kids at the hospital, Snake Plissken decided that you didn't need to live anymore. This would all make sense, though, if it turned out that Snake was actually a supervillain like me the whole time. I mean, he is named Snake and he wears an eye patch. That's not too far off from Cobra Commander. In the final moments of the movie, Snake lights a smoke and looks at the audience in utter disbelief that they are still watching the movie.
Welcome to the human race.
Snake should have said, "Welcome to your life." They might as well reference a Tears for Fears song to end the whole series with. Or maybe Snake just saw a woman giving birth. Escape from LA is pretty much Escape from New York, rebuilt from the ground up. Deviations from the original film get really silly, and even small things from the original are repeated embarrassingly. Escape from LA is a highly derivative movie that's not worth watching unless you absolutely need to see Kurt Russell wearing an eye patch one more time. It sucks that the only other Snake Plissken thing to turn to is some comics. There was going to be a TV show, but that went under. There was going to be an anime, but that also went under. There was even going to be a video game, but I guess somebody found out that there was already a popular video game franchise starring Snake Plissken. I mean a totally different guy named Snake who happens to wear an eye patch. Sometimes. Anyway, I give Escape from LA a Psycho 1998 out of Psycho 1960. The name's Wolfula, Doctor. Got it?
What do you say we play a little Bangkok Rules?